After watching Game 7 of the NLCS, there was one question that kept circling my mind over and over and over again. A question that I simply just couldn't shake. And that was, has Bryce Harper lived up to the hype? Now, I only ask this because of his performance in Game 7 and in Game 6, two must-win games for the Philadelphia Phillies that he just didn't show up in. And we've seen this trend throughout his entire career, especially in the big moments. When the lights are the brightest, that's when we seem to lose sight of Bryce Harper. He just kind of vanishes. I mean, if we take a look at recent history, in Game 6 of the NLCS versus the Diamondbacks, in a game where Philly was at home and it was very close, I mean 1-5, that one hit changes everything. And what did Bryce Harper do in his 3 at-bats? Yeah, he did not, I mean, he got 1 walk and 2 strikeouts. 2 strikeouts, you can't have that, especially in a must-win game at home. And in Game 7, we see the exact same story, except this time it's much worse, because now it's a Game 7, yeah, they're still at home, and the score is even closer. It ended up being 2-4, so this was an even tighter game. Bryce Harper had more at-bats, and yet he got on the base even less. He went 0 for 4 in Game 7 and had himself a strikeout. Now, before you Phillies fans run to the comments and get upset, I will state the fact that he wasn't the only Philly to flake on the team offensively in those last 2 games. I mean, Kyle Schwarber, he had 2 walks. He ended up going 0 for 2 as the leadoff guy in Game 6, I'm pretty sure. And then there was another guy, Trey Turner, the second man to bat, follow him up. What'd he do? 0 for 4, along with Bryce Harper's terrible performance. And those are the top 3 guys all playing awful in Game 6. Hell, even Nick Castellanos got in on it. He didn't get a single hit. He went 0 for 4 as well. I mean, what is an ace like Aaron Nola supposed to do in that situation? Sure, did he play his best game? By no means did he. He gave up 3 runs in the second inning, 2 of them being 2 different home runs. So he also underperformed. But when his offense does nothing for him, it's kind of hard to keep going. That's why he got bullied out of the game. That's why the Phillies fell in Game 6. And Game 7, like I had mentioned earlier, is a bunch of the same stuff. Because again, not only does Bryce Harper have a bad game in Game 7, so does his teammates. Trey Turner, 0 for 4 in Game 7 along with Bryce. Hell, our old buddy, Nick Castellanos, gets in on the fun as well. He's all like, hey, you guys are having 0 for 4 games, let me have one. Now, do we blame the pitching staff? Do we blame the batting? Because the pitching staff didn't even do that bad this game. Ranger Suarez, he went 5 innings. Maybe we just praise the Diamondbacks pitching. We give the Diamondbacks some love because no one's been doing that. I mean, hell, you saw what Christopher Mad Dog Russo had to say. He was going to retire if the Diamondbacks made it to the World Series. Did that happen? Yeah, no, he backed out. He admitted he's a liar. So there's that. But Philly fans, I'm going to keep it a buck with you. This video is not about the Phillies team and how the guys did overall. This is about one man, Bryce Harper. This guy was projected to be the LeBron James of baseball. The hype he had surrounding him heading into the MLB in 2012 was crazy. This dude was a unicorn. The way he was able to do everything at such a high level at such a young age. I mean, hell, he could have been Jordan for all we know. But his career just hasn't panned out that way. I mean, he's played amazing, but that postseason success has been pretty absent. He did the same stuff last season. Does Game 5 of the 2022 World Series ring a bell for any of you? Because it should, especially if you're a Bryce Harper fan. That was the game the Houston Astros won the World Series. Thanks a lot, Philadelphia. You gave the Astros a legitimate ring. But whatever. You know who hurt the most that game? Probably Bryce Harper. He had 4 at-bats. What did he do? Nothing. Except get strikeouts, because apparently he loves doing that in clutch games. 2 strikeouts, no hits, no nothing, except a loss. That's it. And I get that Bryce Harper doesn't always play bad in the clutch. Hell, you could just argue that I'm cherry-picking stats to feed my narrative, and maybe I am. We could take a look at the 2012 Washington Nationals playoff run, where it was Bryce Harper's rookie season. They're in the NLDS in Game 5 playing the St. Louis Cardinals at home, and what does Bryce Harper do in a must-win game? He balls out. He has a triple and a home run, brings in 2 runs. He played very well that game. Unfortunately, the Nationals ended up losing 7-9, because their pitching was terrible. They could have been a little bit better defensively, but that's not how things worked out. Now, why do I bring that up? Well, to prove that he can be clutch sometimes. But again, that was 11 years ago. And with the way that man was hyped up coming into the league, and with how he has performed in the regular season for the past 11 years, you'd expect him to be there for your team nearly every single night. I mean, this guy is a 2-time MVP winner, Rookie of the Year winner, so in the regular season he's been there, he's showed up. You'd expect a little more from him in the playoffs. And I know he's played well for most of the postseason, especially this year. I mean, I watched the Miami series. I've seen almost every game in the Atlanta Braves series, especially this Diamondback series. He's played really well at home, on the road, it doesn't matter. This guy has 5 home runs just this postseason alone. You can't ask for more than that. But where was he Game 6? Where was he Game 7? That's what I'm trying to say. You know? Hell, I could take it a step further and talk about Harper's Game 4 performance in the Diamondbacks series. Why? Well, in that game, the Diamondbacks ended up winning 6-5. Had they gone Phillies' way, they probably would have won at least 1 in the last 3 games, and that would have taken them to the World Series versus the Rangers. But it didn't happen. And why didn't it happen? Well, Bryce Harper didn't contribute in that game, at least not very much offensively. He had 3 at-bats. He struck out in 2 of them. Yes, in 2 of them, he ended up striking out and he walked in the other. Now, I believe that even Bryce Harper would tell you that he knows he did not perform well in some of those losses versus the Diamondbacks. But that's not what the question was. The question was, has he lived up to the hype? And honestly, if we take a step back and look at his full career, I'd argue that he has. He definitely has. I mean, hell, take a look at his 2015 season with the Washington Nationals. What did he do? Oh yeah, he just messed around and won an MVP, got into the All-Star conversation. He got 118 runs, 42 home runs. Yeah, not just anybody hits 42 home runs in a season. I mean, even I wish he was able to accomplish more with his time in Washington, D.C. He was there for 7 seasons, and all that really happened postseason-wise was 4 NLDS appearances. He never got past that with the Nationals. Of course, they would end up parting ways in 2018, and then the Nationals would win a World Series the very next year. So at least the organization got something out of it. But Bryce Harper missing out on a World Series the year after, tough look. Of course, he goes to the Phillies and kinda has a resurgence, just a bit. Not saying that he ever fell off, because by no means did that come close to happening. Just that going to Philly and being there for a couple of years kind of got him a little bit of a jolt in his career. I mean, 6 years after winning his first MVP, he wins a second one with a brand new team, brand new situation. And what does he do? 42 doubles? That's pretty cool. I mean, hell, he had himself another career year. His batting average off the charts, 309. On base percentage, 429. Another good home run season by the guy. 35. He played excellent in 2021, and that was completely different to what he did in 2015, okay? So even with the pressure of the world thrusted upon this man's shoulders as he was a teenager, I believe he was able to reach the oh so high bar that was set for him at such a young age. I believe he's lived up to the hype, and that's the answer to the question that's been ringing in my brain since they lost to the Diamondbacks. Anyway, that's about it for the video. Let me know if there's anything I missed in the comments, or if there's any videos, other players or teams you want to see me cover after this. Much love. Catch y'all later. Deuces.